Well, who's missing our voters would be John and Skylar.
We have majority.
We're good. Yeah, so I figure if we knock that out real fast, which we should. No one's gonna.
Let's see.
Looking at the way left to these. And we're live, so we're right at 4:30, so we'll go ahead and call us to order.
Same thing I just did.
All right, calling us to order right at 4:30. We do have a quorum, but missing today, we've got Skylar, we have Josh, and Krista, who of course is non-voting, but she is not with us today. And Amy also. Okay. So I guess I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from
Second.
October. Second. All in favor? We got any questions, comments about October minutes? Okay. Is that Sam?
Yes.
You seconded me. I'll quickly review just October financials. I sent them to you guys with the agenda information. We do have some outstanding debts, so we'll do a thorough review next time we meet, but we had $1277.49 showing as available. We do have the still encumbered 500 for the papers, 520 outstanding, so there's about $270 still remaining for our budget for the remainder of the year, which we'll just let roll over because we're done. And we'll just put that towards some other things. Hey, Amy. All right. So I know we're going to have some discussions throughout the meeting, mostly hindsighting, looking ahead, but if we can just leap forward for just a second and let's do a couple of votes if we can, just so we can get Ryan on the road. So there was okay, probably with this on the proper verbiage, but I'd like to make a motion to suspend the December 4th meeting. Since it is a holiday, our business is completed. We're going to come back in January and do a planning workshop. So not sure if there's any opposition or concern with that.
Someone make a motion.
Or someone make a motion, I'm sorry.
I make a motion to accept.
Said it first.
I'll second that.
Motion second.
All right, so December, Logan, thank you. And that's, it's holiday time, so, and we have concluded our annual business. All right, the second order of business, we're not quite sure that we need vote other than to determine time and who would like to be there. We have 4 red oak trees that were remaining after that we designated for tree planting in one of the locations that have been pre-approved through Parks and Rec. Waiting on final confirmation from them today to make sure that Tucker Creek is the ideal place that is pre-approved. Throughout Arbor Day Festival time, online voting and chatter, Tucker Creek is overwhelmingly where people would like to see some plantings. And so we would like to take those 4 red oak trees and plant those at our Tucker Creek location that's approved. It's near Reedy Road. All that information's in the folder for you. I'm waiting back for Trey to say, yep, okay, we require nothing of Parks and Rec for this initial planting. We can do that with the shovel. It'll take just a couple of people. It's 4 trees, very easy to do that. So we would need to do that pretty quickly. You planted your tree, so you know the state of the trees. They need to get in the ground. Mine's going in today. So I guess the question is anyone available, willing to help plant 4 trees? I know you're going into surgery. You handle your foundation and we will work on that. So I'm not quite sure. Is it a vote that is needed for this?
I don't think so.
Just discussion of
Terry.
because it's not,
If it's not in the public right of way, then I think it's fine.
since we've already have like pre-approval on the locations and stuff, which I'll wait until they say, yeah, go, it's good today to go do it. But is there anyone here who has interest to go help do that? Not you, I'm sorry. 'Cause you'll
I'll be
in
out at a conference, or I would.
You're good. You're
I
good.
can likely help during the day.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Like, is there a time, like in the next week or two, is there a time that's decent for either? Sorry, my glasses literally broke 5 minutes.
I'm trying not to laugh at
before.
you.
I'm sitting this way. So.
I have pretty decent availability, like 9 to 5 during the day.
Mhm.
2 to later in the afternoons is not as good for me.
Okay, any specific dates that work better for you or not? Shani, do you have commitments? Are you available? I'm thinking an hour or two and we're out.
Well, and
How soon can we do
I can do it tomorrow before 11.
it?
Honestly, same.
Okay.
Does it just depend on how quickly we can get approval?
There are those 4 trees. As soon as Trey says, good to go, we're ready.
Okay.
So,
I
y'all,
might not be able to, but if y'all can give me whatever's best, I can arrange around it. I have a few like virtual meetings that are typically around noon.
Okay.
And they'll last about an hour, and that's really kind of the only thing.
okay.
On this coming Wednesday, Thursday, and I think I have another one the next Wednesday and Thursday. So just
So
Just
before
let me know,
11:30, and
or
then
probably anytime after 1 or wait, you
Yeah.
have
So you're saying tomorrow or Thursday before 11:30? Am I misunderstanding that?
I think most days before 11:30.
Most days before 11:30? Oh,
Also, it's cooler, and yay! This is
ridiculous. We're all gonna be sick.
okay. And then, okay, Logan, is that an option for you or no before 11:30? And here comes Krista, who's really the other one.
That should be fine.
11:30. So if we can do, so we need to wrap up by 11:30 a.m. basically is what you're saying.
Yep.
So maybe like a 9 a.m. Krista may be trying to get in.
Actually,
Letting her in.
What's today? Wednesday would be probably perfect. I might have like
was gonna
Win
say
with
the
me or
rain-
something, but
Yeah. Oh, that's
No,
fine.
that's
Well,
it's
the
gonna be
rain-
fine.
and the rain's gonna come in Thursday.
Okay, because I was gonna say because Thursday,
do
Wednesday, I
Wednesday.
won't have my nephew, so that would be
then it'll be
perfect.
get extra rain after it's been planted, which is really beneficial.
We're thinking of planting Wednesday before 11:30.
Hi.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Do you want us to wait until you can help, or are you opposed to? So we've got 2 water, but we can go back and revisit the need for water bags. So, okay. So this week, before 11:30, and I will just, what's the appropriate way to notify? Email everyone about that. So it's down. Okay. All right, I will let y'all know as soon as I hear back from Trey.
That's good.
Okay.
Is
Thank
that
you.
the only
Anything else?
voting things?
Which I guess wasn't even really a vote.
Yeah, just, since we're not gonna have a meeting next month, for January, we're gonna have, a workshop to kind of set the agenda for the entire year. So I'm thinking 4 or 5 things that the tree board wants to focus on for 24. I'm just gonna have some ideas coming forward, and we can set a time, we can do the normal time, or we can set a time, but we can do that just by public notice.
Okay.
But like we would have Arbor Day, if you guys still want to do yoga under the trees, and then maybe 2 or 3 more
We have to do the tree giveaway because we
tree giveaway.
trees.
Yes.
There those 3, so
Yeah.
a couple more that you guys want to do next year, and then we can get it all set.
Okay. All right, we will do that too.
Other than that,
Thank you so much. Have a great game.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your time. We appreciate you, Ryan.
Yes.
All right, sorry, we jumped, and I'll get you caught up here and you caught up here, because we did a lot while you had to step out. So, due to Ryan's time, we kind of bumped forward just so we could get him out of here. So we did vote to suspend the December 4th meeting. Okay, so we will not have that, and I will email and let everyone know on that. And then the other part of business that we did just kind of hold is the 4 red oak trees for planting. As soon as we get okay back from Trey, just confirming that those locations are fine, we will we've got a few of us who can get out there before 11:30 sometime this week, so we'll try to get those in the ground.
Can I ask if the January meeting will be as usual, or will the
Be longer,
thing that he
yeah.
talked about replace that meeting?
Well, so I think, and this, we can dig in a little, I was feeling a little hurried to help get him out, and we can slow down on that a little bit now, but let me go back to answer your question, and that is a great question. So let's look at, when is January? The first Monday in
It's Monday.
January.
Oh,
I
goodness.
think it's Monday.
And that's
Yeah.
actually, so it
That's the
will be-
first, but that's
it's gonna be
a
January
holiday.
8th. It'll be
Yeah,
January
the
8th.
first is a holiday.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the January meeting will be January 8th. And to answer your question, because I'd posed that to him, do we want to try to do the workshop during a regular meeting, or do we want to have a planning? And so kind of typical, some things that happen as we roll over the new year is that I think everyone on this board, term limits are not up until 2024, 2025, the end of the year. So we don't have any open positions or changes with that, but do think about your roles and what you would like to do next year, or, you know, how you would like to contribute, because we will have to vote in officers. We do that every year. So think about your role, what you would like to do, and come back in January having some idea of that, because I would assume we would vote at that time during the meeting as well for positions. And then the other things we want to do, well, you guys know, it's kind of hurried and disorganized, and there's a lot going on this year and a lot of newness. So y'all have all now been through a full year of what it's like to be on the tree board. But as we look at 2024, we want to get very strategic and organized with our projects. So he mentioned 4 is kind of an ideal number that the city's looking at. We were already above, I mean, with the current projects that we already do, we're going to be over that, but it doesn't require anything really from the city for some of those things. So we've already voted them in, we already have the budgets and made the purchases. So January will just be about calendar planning. So my suggestions, and Krista, I don't know if you want to chime in here too, would be look at, you know, what are other tree cities doing? What do y'all have in mind that you might like to see the tree board do for next year? I know he mentioned like yoga under the trees, the spring tree giveaways, Arbor Day. Those are all very forward-facing community projects, which are great. But I do want to also remind everyone here that we had some other underlying, I think, more critical, important work that I would like to see the tree board do in terms of, and maybe this is personal, because my term limit will come up at the end of the year, and I made some commitments when I started that I would like to see. So I would really like to push next year, if the board votes to do so, to try to actually see it through to get the canopy analysis. Like, we still don't know exactly what
Some
our
of those
canopy
policy
coverage.
pieces that
Yeah.
we need.
And it's just good foundational, fundamental information that we need to have for anyone who comes for the continuing board or anyone who comes after us, to have that information to help planning and development of the city. And so not a community project, but in terms of city, which staying true to our mission, which is public trees, city maintenance, health of our overall canopy, staying true to that portion of it. Continuing to work with the city, whether that's a grant, whether that's doing their comprehensive plan. It's time to move forward with if we do it on our own, if we do it in partnership, I would like to see that canopy analysis happen. Sorry.
I have an idea.
Yep.
So I don't know who to talk with at UCA, but I know they have a GIS department.
Yes, we do.
I don't know if they do capstone projects, but that might be
We do.
something.
We do.
Oh, are you in?
Yeah, we did one of
GIS
them.
or
Our college.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the geology department?
I took quite a few
Geography.
classes, GIS classes with the geography department while I was an undergrad, and then I just finished my grad program there, so now I
Okay.
work there, so
Yeah.
we can talk to people.
And Steve O'Connell's the chair of that department and has already showed interest. I've not been organized enough collectively to say, and now here's a great project for that. We've kind of,
So honestly, though, there is about to be a lot of
Of
grant money
money.
available because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes.
And it's earmarked for urban forestry, for communities.
Have you seen the grant process though for
But we
that?
have a grant writer at the city.
Oh, okay,
I mean, we don't have to write the grant. We need to get organized and work with the city's grant writer, that he's made himself more, I think that he wants that partnership.
okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off. But we've gone several different ways. Do we do it on our own? We then met with the city and Felicia said, hold on, we're doing a comprehensive plan for the city, which is also true and happening. So we kind of let off, but
Well, and also a lot of this is gonna be passed through money through the
Yeah.
Arkansas Agriculture Department. It hasn't been announced yet, but it will be soon. And that process should be a little bit simpler than
Okay.
applying directly to the federal government.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
so,
I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Usually in RCS or ag department or whomever is in charge of doling out that stuff, so yeah.
Yeah.
and kind of piggyback, since you said idea, another thing I thought about for January and what we'd like is having representatives come and talk at our meetings. So we know that we have a grant administrator who's eager to help us. What does that look like? What is that? So maybe we invite him to a meeting. And then I thought too, maybe we need to have transportation come and physical plant come. And what are their needs? How would they like us to support them? Kind of getting their voice so we can go back to look at, in terms of bigger planning and mission and city support of the forest. I'd like to maybe bring in some special guests to talk to our board about how we can be more effective. Just a couple more ideas, but thoughts. We jumped right over Arbor Day and went to January. So let's stick here. We're going to stick here.
Yeah, that's
for a
supposed to be our
little bit.
January meeting.
Well, but it's, so
Yeah.
I just
But
want
it's
you to
relevant
get your
to kinda get
minds
the
wrapping
wheels turning.
around.
Yeah.
And I'm going to answer your question, but also, so I have some personal goals. There are some personal projects, and then also we do have, and I've shared it and printed it, so I was not going to print it again today, and it's in the folder, but there's the urban forestry management scope of work plan, because we did have a committee working on it and some of the things that we thought were important. And so you are welcome to review those, look at other tree cities, look at other ideas. So I don't want anyone to be bound to what we're saying. Come to the table with your own ideas for next year. I do just want to refresh us that we did request budget funding and support for tree giveaway, expanding yoga, professional development day. And I think that's all we asked for, but so just FYI, we've already asked for money for those, so we should probably include those in our goal for next
Well,
year.
and we may know by January if we
Yeah.
got
He said they'll review it. I did ask today if they had discussed it yet, and he said no, for sure, with the December city council meeting, so we will know by then. I'm so sorry, go.
So for canopy analysis, what specifically are we wanting, what kind of information are we wanting to get?
So, and there are some examples, but Davey, do you want to share? I'm gonna quit talking.
I mean-
What are some things we're looking for?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things you can look at. I mean, number one, we need canopy cover.
Okay.
But then we also, it would be good to get some idea of like health of the urban forest, species diversity, and then looking at differences between different parts of the community, specifically like related to socioeconomic differences also, and how those might relate to some differences in canopy, and so trying to prioritize, where should we be focusing our either conservation or maintenance or planting.
I think it'd be good to know, historically, I mean, I know the city's growing, but I mean, are we losing canopy in established parts of the city, or is it being maintained? If we could look 20 years back versus today or something,
But
just to
also-
see,
Yeah, sorry.
just to see where we are. We might be maintaining, I don't know.
And risk management, so I think aging canopy, what does the maintenance management look like?
Yeah.
That, also future planning and development. I think we kind of all said that, but those are, and species diversity, because we know it's coming, we know things are coming. So for instance, in Laurel Park, there's 30% sweet gum. We are not putting any more sweet gum in Laurel, because something comes and happens to those, we don't have any defense against that, right? Or replacement plan or strategy. So anything that would help planning commission make some decisions Historic District Commission, the city, like,
So knowledge of the capstone process and the capacity of our courses with UCA, those students potentially, if, courses align and instructors are interested and students are wanting and willing to work on this particular project as a capstone, we could likely gain information about current versus historic canopy cover. And then we could potentially do current versus historic canopy cover in regards to socioeconomic economic analysis. I can pretty much guarantee you they're not going to be able to assess health of canopy,
Right,
age of
there's not
canopy,
enough
or
time.
species
You'd
diversity.
have to have-
they can't do that in
You'd have to have
16
LiDAR
weeks.
to do that.
Yeah, you need some professional.
Yeah.
And so, in those regards, I think we'd be better suited to try to utilize and look into the Inflation Reduction Act and get grant money for it. But that grant money would then be used to pay
A consultant to do
A
it.
consulting.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
like $30,000 to get a consultant. to
And there
come in
are
and do that.
companies that specialize in
Yes.
doing
Yes.
urban forest management.
If you look at Fayetteville,
Oh, yeah.
the Texas trees, but Davies Group is a group that does a lot of good consult. I'm not recommending their group. I'm
Planet
just throwing it out.
Geo's
Planet
another.
Geo already did like they did just like a brief analysis to offer up some things to us. So all of that's in our folder. I know there's a ton of stuff in there, but there is some information. And I can't remember, we forwarded an idea to the city too of something that was kind of comparable, but, but I could see potentially like once we get that, GIS, I can't remember how many users Steve said are on this one application, but it would be nice to have residents then go in and tell us what trees are on their property. So we could have a really cool project of getting residents to help us get any remaining information, and that's kind of,
That's
talked
actually
about that
something
a
that I
little
think the
bit.
capstone group could develop
Yeah.
is a GIS app
Mhm.
that would be like open access. It's they could actually create like a collector app
Mhm.
that would allow Conway residents to identify trees, measure, report on even size of trees, but they could also tell us if there's something wrong with a tree, especially a public tree.
Like self-reporting.
Yeah.
Do some, yeah.
That could be interesting if that's the kind of thing that they would do with capstone,
Yeah.
Not
because it's not exactly research
as
then.
much because that's pretty coding and computer science heavy, but they could try to incorporate that existing data in iNaturalist, where it is geolocated and it is community science driven and it is open source, where community
Collector
members
apps are actually pretty easy to design.
okay.
It
But
sounds similar to the census. I've been a
But
part
for
of the
trees.
census for the last 30 decades. 30 years.
But you don't, I think,
Right.
it may be a more modern approach to use iNaturalist because it is probably more common. Yeah.
I
Just know
definitely
he's
think
got
I think it would be interesting to know where the biggest concentration of trees are, and then the biggest area of need.
Mhm.
And then, maybe we could work with the city on some public plantings in those areas of need, but,
And that's the other kind of thing that we could be looking at is doing, like, trying to get more public input on what, residents want the city to do.
We're supposed to have some community meetings, so I don't know, we just need to follow up on some things to see where we are with that, because we talked about having some community meetings for that as they moved through the comprehensive plan. I've just not heard, I'm not sure they're quite where they thought they would be by November. I'm guessing, I don't know. But
If we get that data, would that be something that would allow us to identify problematic areas? If you've got an insect infestation coming in that targets certain types of trees,
sure.
we know what area of the city that we need to focus a treatment plan on or something like that.
Paid for version, yes.
Yeah.
Student version, not even a little bit.
Okay.
Student version potentially could really help with, you know, barren spots in the city that are devoid of trees or patterns of disparity for socioeconomic class to amount of trees. But if we're wanting species diversity and health, that would definitely be coming out of a paid for consultant. But that would be amazing data and be so helpful.
Well, I know, is it the planning commission that, or is it the parks and rec? They have a GIS layer, I know, that has all of the publicly owned or the city owned property in the city limits.
That makes sense.
Because I've seen it. It's been a long time ago, but you know, you could overlay that with the canopy data, and then, you know, we could identify potential project areas and
it only makes sense that the city should have a tree. I mean, like
Right.
trees are providing important functions in our community. And the idea that we don't know what we have is I mean, that's a real problem.
Yeah,
I mean, there, you
Well,
know,
it's pretty antiquated. Like I think most cities are moving to that point just because it is infrastructure and it has to be addressed or.
it would also be good to know, you know, of those city properties, which ones are zoned commercial, which ones are zoned for parks, you know, that sort of thing, because then you can narrow that way down.
Not in rights of way and agriculture.
Right.
So, you know.
In green spaces, whatever.
I've done that similar analysis in GIS where you take your LiDAR data and you can run different analyses to pull out both, and some of the newer data packages can get it down to either a species or just like a very tight group of species. It's really impressive, but also their health and how well they're photosynthesizing. But it is entirely dependent on how recent your data is and how big or how zoomed in or zoomed out you are for the imagery.
And we might check with Tyler or Ryan. They may already have this data. I mean,
That's true.
you never know. They don't.
We've asked.
They don't have that.
I
Okay.
don't think they do, unless something's changed.
We could ask if they have any just image files, GIS, LiDAR, like images, because
I think, aren't they all online? Like on the website, there's under the GIS, all the maps, they're all online.
I wasn't sure if the city has any higher resolution, newer.
We actually did have a little bit of canopy cover, and it was even a historic. There was that was a slider bar that would kind of show the change over like 20 years.
And I think I saved it to our folder too, but it's definitely, I think it's online at the city website, so y'all can check that out too. Before January, you would probably
It's pretty
understand it
old
better.
data at this point, but
Yeah,
but it is there.
kind of what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if the city in-house retained their newest image files, and then as I got new ones, release the older ones to the public, because if they've got that, that's a huge chunk of change that we wouldn't have to like fork over for. And then it's just the analysis component of it, which is still pricey for sure, but not as bad as, you know, paying to have the image and then process it. Any whoosies, I didn't mean to derail. I also like that idea. I think it's great. We should pursue that in January.
I know, we got stuck there for a minute, so obviously that's important. But those are just some ideas that we know. The Robinson Cemetery is near and dear to my heart. If we could get that taken care of in a year, don't think we can, but that would be great.
That one, that Robinson Cemetery would totally, I think they could get 100% of any costs covered with the IRA grants because they're a Justice 40 neighborhood.
So just know, it's our historically black cemetery. So we have 2 historical cemeteries in town. They both obviously have needs. The one that is more in need is the Robinson Cemetery. You did the last tree care and maintenance plan, which is in our folder, but she did a great maintenance care and plan for them. It's been several years now. Part of the concern is too, we don't know where all the graves are, so back to LiDAR. So it would be a bigger undertaking. I know they were working on getting their 501c3
Well, and the
back.
biggest problem there is that they needed a lot of tree maintenance and they have no funding.
or
for that.
irrigation to
And
even
then-
keep it. Like
yeah.
there's, so that would be a big undertaking, but again, that's a personal passion and commitment. So I'm not interjecting I'm just throwing out that these were some of the things that we've been talking about over time. And
Question.
yes.
When we're saying they need a lot of tree care, is it they need a substantial amount of one-off people to come in and trim and prune back trees?
And remove,
And some
Or
and
removals.
removals.
is it, they need far more continual watering and fertilizing?
That
all
as
of the
well,
above.
all the above. I'm not sure if you've ever been
Because
by there.
They
It's
actually
delightful,
they need
and it's also-
drainage work too.
They need-
It's,
The
that's,
graves are under the ground.
I was gonna say
Several.
for pruning and tree trimming and at least hauling of bits of trees. I know like Boy Scout groups, Eagle Scout groups have come.
they need professional though.
Yeah,
They
I'm
need,
like,
there's
we have
big
volunteers.
trees.
Yeah, cherry picker.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's-
okay.
Yeah.
Cherry picker.
And and like Hendrick, they get lots of good volunteer
Gonna say,
support.
like,
We
big
even
event
planted a
with
tree, but it's like
UCA.
hauling buckets across the like there's not irrigation set up just
Okay.
support it. And they also have flooding. Like it is a big care management plan, but if we could at least get the wheels started to get support for them. So that's just throwing that out there as a potential big something.
So we just need to become really good friends with the grant writer for the city, I'm hearing. Sounds great.
So there is a lot of that'll need to happen. So how do y'all feel? What about we just invite him to a meeting and talk to us?
Be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay. All right, so it took us way down to the bottom. Let me even just get my bearings. We talked about the tree planting.
3B and C, I think, are remaining, and I think we've done everything else.
Yeah. So, anyway, get your wheels turning. What you might like to do in January. That's it. Stepping back to Arbor Day, there were some wonderful photos. I put a folder in there. If y'all could just start dumping anything that you have, because there are wonderful pictures, and it would just help us with ongoing marketing and all of that. So that's just a side note. But then I'm just going to open it up. And let's talk about Arbor Day, and we'll keep toss out. What do we like? What do we not like? How'd it go?
Can we order that weather every year?
Every year.
Please.
It was perfect day. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to say I had a fantastic experience where I had 3 generations come to my table and get a tree. They got 2 different trees because it was 2 families, and they moved aside and then took a picture as a family holding their 2 trees. And I wish I would have gotten a picture of that or their names so that I could follow up with them, because they very clearly adopted the we need trees, we plant them for the generations. And it was a
literal and
fantastic
symbolic.
full circle being there.
That's awesome.
I had a blast doing what I did, and I think that it benefited all the people, especially where we were. We had a lot of people come in, and whether they were qualified or to receive those trees or not, when I would talk about the purpose of it, what we were doing, what we were replacing it for, every one of them said, "That is amazing. That is great. I am so glad you're doing that." So that's some community feedback for you.
Those were really nice trees too.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were.
So,
Way bigger than anticipated, I guess.
yes.
Sorry for the false information. Will that fit in my car? Sure, no problem.
I love that they were already potted too, not bare root.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll make it so we have a much higher retention. And yeah, people kept asking how much we were selling the trees for, and I'm like, it's a giveaway, and they were shocked and ecstatic. It was fantastic.
That's great. So it was good, and that made me think, like, gosh, I remember before my time on the board where the high school folks used to help grow them. So I don't know if y'all got the saplings and then they grew them
That's what
throughout
they
the
did.
year. So I don't know, could we make contact again and see if that's is that helpful to get more trees for fall giveaway? Talk to me about
The
that.
quality of those trees were not good, because the high school has a really hard time taking care of them in the summer.
Okay.
Because if the high school is going to do it, you get the seedlings in March, they pot them up, and then they're supposed to keep them alive and healthy and growing until Arbor Day, the first Saturday of November.
So that would be helpful till summer, and then it would fall back to different hands.
I mean, we can talk to the high school again to see if, because I don't think the current agriculture teacher ever did that project. So I could be wrong about that, but I don't know, it's just keeping them going because I mean, they need daily water, possibly twice a day during the summer.
And Bemis is great. I mean, I think the price point on them was fantastic. I was just thinking, how do we give more? You know, the response was great. I know we were concerned about the interest, and then we realized there was an issue with our QR code. So then we redid the code, and within 24 hours, we went from 12 to like 60 given.
Also,
so
I don't know if-
technical. I was getting concerned. I'm like, does no one want trees in the fall? And then
Also, I don't know if you saw it, but somebody commented that when we put a QR code like on Facebook and they're on their phone, that's not helpful.
Yeah, you can't use.
So they need the link.
The QR code is only useful when you are using your camera.
Yeah. So they're actually in the, at least in the text.
I was gonna say,
If you can take a screenshot.
Can you do it from a photo?
yeah, I was gonna say
That's how I do it.
Before, but I can't. I think
That's how I
it's a
do it.
screenshot.
Or if you hold press the QR code, the link should pop up.
Learn something new every day.
Well,
but
but
Also,
people said that they
the link
couldn't
would
do
be
it,
helpful.
and for those
so.
Yeah.
less tech savvy, someone I did see that on Instagram. I'm like, I don't know how to put a link on Instagram. If
You
I don't
can't
have
put a link on
Linktree.
Instagram.
Like you have to have
Yeah.
all these other little.
So
apps.
with Facebook, you could leave a link and it would be blue and super easy to click on. Instagram, you cannot leave a link unless you're sharing it to the story, but the story goes away.
Uh-huh.
And if you put the link in the comment down below, they've got to screenshot it, copy and
Link.
paste it, and, you know, all these extra things.
So most people put the link in their
The
bio.
description, yeah.
You can buy a Linktree, which we probably need to go back through and do some syncing and organizing
Yeah.
of how we're managing the actual social media platform. There's a better way to do it, I'm sure, that would make it across all platforms.
I mean,
make it easier.
it all
to
works, but
It did work.
yeah.
Right, but
But it
making
was
it
just-
easy is good, because if it's not easy, they're just not going to do it
Mhm.
a lot of the time. Like if it's little.
I
too
liked
un-
having the reservation form. Like I've never done that. Like I've done a lot of tree giveaways, and I've never
worked
done
on
that before. And
And
it
I loved
well.
having the names and I could just put it on the tree.
I just think it's nice too because people have to like think about it beforehand. Like, do I want like if if people had just arrived and we'd been like, would you like a tree? Then they might be like, sure. And then they get home and they don't know. Like they're like, where's this? But like they had to think about it and like, do I want a tree and where would I put a tree? And then they have time to like kind of
And then show up to
prepare.
get the
Like,
tree.
yeah. And they get a few weeks to prepare to like you're getting a tree.
Yes, I think the
Any
percentage of what
forethought.
actually goes in the ground is higher.
Yes,
with
I think
the-
so.
I did
It's
have a
intentional.
I did have a request for the information sheets that I had created for them to be online. So for future events that we have, if we can get those put on our Facebook page or something like that, I think that would be beneficial for those who are more environmentally conscious and want to save a tree anywhere they can. That would be beneficial. I
For
did
saving
offer that.
paper or to having access to the people
Yeah.
get
Saving paper. But
renewable resource.
many
Recyclable,
people,
recyclable.
I would give them the option. I would say, listen.
Yeah,
name it with
if
your
we
tree
only,
on
yeah,
it.
if we only had QR codes and they only had a link, they'd complain that we didn't have the paper. So
Yes.
Right.
But I do
Options,
understand having options. And also, it's good. And for somebody who wants to feel good about it, they actually could shred that paper and put it right in their planting. And
I would
just
love that
do
too,
it right
to,
now.
to have a little blurb on the paper that
Be
says,
cool. Tear me up, throw me in the
recycle, put
ground.
this in the ground with your tree.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So maybe that would be fun. We'll have to do that. Yeah, right. Any other feedback? It was very well executed, I
So
have to
I
say.
heard one other complaint was that we didn't have a recycling container near the food where the water bottles were. But that
I
was
own
like,
that.
that was our mistake. We didn't recognize where they were.
And they did tell us, but during the setup, so we were actually using the ones that are always there with Parks and Rec, and the ones they brought us were further down. I did go back during cleanup, and we grabbed and separated and did everything that we could on the back end, and that was a mess on just setup part. So, yeah, kicked myself the whole way after. That's good. So
It's
recycling.
pretty minor, like in the grand scheme of issues, those are pretty small. Like I'd say it was an overarching huge success.
It was. I mean, I felt like a lot of it came together literally at the last minute. Like people, it seemed like a lot of our people were not very good about like telling us, yes, we'll be there, like the volunteers and such, but then they did show up in the end. So,
I said I couldn't, and then I surprise showed up. So
I know,
I
thank you. We got a
understand.
lot
Yeah,
of
no,
surprise with it.
and there were several like that.
I'm sure great.
Yeah, but I don't know how to fix that situation so that we're not sort of panicky like beforehand, like, is this gonna work? Do we have enough people?
Do we give certificates or anything of recognition to the volunteers?
So previous years there were T-shirts too that they got. So this year we voted to do trees and get rid of our old stuff instead of T-shirts. But typically, other than the bags and stickers, they got a T-shirt too and the free meal. I did ask the volunteers if they needed to have their hours certified and things like that. Apparently a selfie is all you need now. You don't have to sign off on volunteer hours. A selfie in action is all they required. Because my thought was, do I need to send them some kind of certificate or something like that? I was thinking
I think a lot
about
of the
the
master
thank
gardeners that
yous.
help do it because they like it.
Yeah.
I don't think they need a
Okay.
certificate.
Well, I was thinking like the UCA Green Bear Coalition. I had a blast with the volunteers. They were wonderful. And I didn't know if giving them some sort of formal kudos would reinforce them participating
Absolutely.
in the future.
Well, and that's what, so Shani, I was thinking, and we talked a little bit on the front end, I'm speaking collectively to you and Skylar, Shani. We need some thank you to our sponsors, thank you to our volunteers. We could do a recognition post just even on social media, and then getting organized by the end of the year to send out a newsletter to all of our database as a thank you and recognition of people who showed up for our
Even thanking
events, too.
attendees.
Yeah,
Because
attendees,
we
they
didn't
showed
have
up.
an event if we didn't
Right.
have people show up.
And I was concerned about attendance because typically we have the school age choirs that come and that brings the children and brings the parents, and we did not have that this year. So I was very
I think having good
nervous.
weather. Having good weather helped a lot.
There was a
Yeah, because we had a lot of people
ton
coming up just from the park.
people
Yeah.
being
So-
like, I had no idea.
So there
this
was literally,
happening.
the parking lots of the park were full,
That's
like
what we heard.
completely full. There was no parking.
I know there was a birthday party going on. 'Cause
Well, hopefully they
everyone-
came in.
my friends had a birthday party going on.
Actually,
I did receive some many scared looks when the trees said black gums, and I was standing underneath a
black.
sweet gum,
Yeah,
and they were
so
like, "Oh
that's
no!"
why we called them
Black
like Tupelos. I
Tupelos. That's why
can't
we
help
changed
it
the
that that's the
name.
name.
I mean, we used the
But it allowed that educational conversation.
Yes.
So
which is
Black
great.
Tupelo makes a tiny little berry
Yeah,
that the
that
birds
the
like.
birds enjoy a lot.
yes, enjoy, and they're fast growing, so that's good. Overflow parking, somebody mentioned that earlier, so we need to make note of overflow parking options. Conway Regional is usually really good to let us if we can double check, but they're really good to let us kind of mark an overflow area historically for that. But full parking lots are what we want. That's great. I do want to say too, in my experience, this was the first year that we had city representatives actually there on a Saturday to participate. That may not seem like a big deal.
It was-
I was
Conway
shocked.
Court.
It was neat.
Like to give up a weekend, is really, it means a lot. It was great. We had Shelley Bell, who's there from City Council. She did a great job. She really enjoyed it. And she actually wants to meet with us to discuss potential Arkansas Community Foundation grants that are available. She's passionate about fruit and nut trees and access to food security for people who may not have them.
Yes.
So that was also a great contact. So her being out there too was really helpful. So she's someone I would like for us to invite in and see. And
Absolutely.
I'll have to look at the deadlines when they open because it's pretty soon. Now we know when we get into fruit and nut trees, that's a whole different things in terms of management. But native blueberry bushes, like maybe they're not just big dropping trees. What are the
Yeah.
options? It sounds like this is something she's really passionate about. So would love for us to talk to her. So that was huge.
Especially if we can combine that both socioeconomic analysis of the city, looking at where free food resources
So what about like
could be
connecting with
the
community
most
gardens?
beneficial, combined with potential barren spots of like where in the city we don't have as many trees, and try to include some of those specific species into park plannings or locations at its city property already, and specialize those. And
Not even on the west side of town, like we already have the community garden. We've already put in 200 trees. So what if we go back and just continue to expand in that area unless something's changed?
Which we
There
did
weren't-
plant pecans over there.
Yes. And so, Daffodil Days is over there. So I think there could be a nice collaboration of a micro food for, can we do something like that? Which also would be really cool research to then come back and go, and now what do we do? How are we influencing that waterway that is in the end? So we had flooding, we've got sediment, we've got runoff, we've got issues. So in my mind, that is just kind of my mind, who I've not consulted anyone, would be a great place, right? They can't develop right there right now anyway. We already have interested folks in that community garden. It will only feed pollinators and food.
Yeah, no,
and
and
if
I
we get
mean,
natives in there.
if we've
right?
already got existent other species like pecan trees and things of that sort, and if you kind of create a large centralized location of fruiting trees, and potentially even include some native understory, creating more of a pollination hotspot will increase pollination activity and therefore help with tree yield.
And food production right in that garden. And then we've got some folk, what's right across on the other side, like people will probably, if there's a need, I think there's a food desert. Of course, now they've got the local produce place, but there's kind of a food desert in that part of West Conway. And then there are some, in East Conway, obviously, too. So anyway, just throwing that
No,
out
that'd
there
be
as
great.
potential. How are we doing on time? All right, we're going to try to get out of here by 5:30, unless y'all have other. So I did want to just make note also that the ordering of the champion tree books for the photo contest winners, they did not make it in time. So she had a wonderful signed copy that she gave up for the greater cause. I had 2 Arkansas Woody Vines books that I gave because they were new and good shape. I hadn't used them a whole lot. So those went, and I only say that because when the champion tree books, she gets 1 and I get 2. I'm just saying,
Fair.
we made good on it. We're going to get that back. And
She's a really nice lady.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So, community choice voting, I think that was a huge hit this year. The
It was
community
fun.
really loved it. The photo contest winners loved it. We have an aspiring young photographer that won it. He's amazing. And so.
Loved the reference to the squirrel view.
Squirrels eye view. That
And when
was
they
awesome.
submitted it, was submitted as uplifting, so I made a mistake. But I've corrected everything, and when they get printed and labeled and all of that, like I confirmed with his mom, like, what do you want it to be titled? And we're gonna honor that. So a squirrel's eye view I thought was very cool. It's great perspective. So let's see, drums were a hit. Interactive music, I think, is
Drums
the
were
way to go.
awesome.
Yes.
That was totally
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah.
Any thoughts? How was it being at the table?
The table was very busy, but no, my sister was there with Gwen, and Gwen, she just in the drum circle, she was like this. So she did not enjoy it. She's the only person who did not, and she was like this. Like my sister
Didn't
took
move at all.
hilarious pictures of her just like looking like, please get me out of here. But no, That was really good. The leaf rubbing table was like, it was wild. So it was pretty busy.
We had lots of good kids activities. I mean, nobody
Mhm.
could say that was not a family event.
Oh yeah,
Because
well, and
there was
everybody,
lots
like
of
there were
family
people
stuff.
walking around with like tons of little things, and I was like, go to that tent, go get a bag to put all your goodies in.
But I think there was
like,
also stuff to keep adults interested in,
Oh,
so
yeah.
they were learning.
Yeah.
along
Look,
the way, too.
sanitation,
Yeah, that was
their
really cool.
stats, like 48,000 trees have already been saved just off paper and cardboard recycling year to date through sanitation. And so I think it was a great tie-in for them to say, this is why we're at a tree event. This is what matters. And so it was really cool to hear the information that they had too, so.
And I mean, one of the reps for them is a environmental science alum from UCA. And so it makes sense that they like why they're so passionate about it, but also that's a known close contact that we can continue to request for them to come back in future years.
Yeah, well, and landfill space is the hot commodity now, so we gotta think about how smart we are with using that and where we're gonna go next and how we can maintain that space for as long as we can. So it is all very interconnected. So I was real happy that they were there to share that information.
And the hot dogs were really tasty.
Hot dogs are tasty. Somebody said, they're 100% beef. I was like, yeah, these are real hot dogs. Thank you. So, and I have to say, the food area, I don't know, it went really well this year. You guys were
Yeah.
on it, and the
organized,
master
yeah.
gardeners. So just to share too, so anything that was left over, all of the food products, all of the water, with the exception of 35, I saved I came back today and put everything in storage. There are 35 waters left for next volunteer planting effort. So I saved one
Which
every
is this week.
which is just sweet. I'll bring you a bottle of water. But for the one in spring, we can do that. Everything went to Coho. So Coho Academy
Nice.
and their Hope Home, they've got a community event coming up and they had a need. So I've donated all of that. I have in my car, I wanted to make sure we had enough, but the tree adoption certificates and that activity and the remaining bags will go to Coho too. And I want to ask us and or geography if we could get a representative to go out and teach the kids how to measure some trees and do the legit activity, because that is a big hit. We had Yachin He.
So proud. So proud.
Thank you, I'm working on it. Is a professor from UCA geography. She did not have students. I did not realize that we didn't have enough student volunteers for her, because that is a very popular activity. She teaches them how to measure trees, learn about trees, and then they get the adoption certificates and journals to take away. And so that was one feedback for her, is that she was so busy measuring trees that she felt like a lot of people got missed at the table. And that again was over. And I had her right between all the
can do that.
RSOs. I'm like, I did not even realize she was alone over there. So
I can help with that next year.
be great. That's a huge hit. They love it. I think the first year we did it, people weren't quite sure, but once we get them to the tree, they were super engaged. And, that's educational and they're invested, right? So that's that future, not just kids, there were a bunch of adults over there too. So that was really great. Anyone else chime in? Anyone else have anything to share? Keep bad toss, keep bad and different. Okay, so let's see. No balloons.
No balloons.
I'm just gonna say it out
no
loud.
balloons.
I
thought
love
that was a
the
terrible idea.
organizations, and I get that there is a rub and it's a challenge when we get into giveaways in terms of cost and likability and things like that. I do have to say I saw many balloons
In the
flying up in the
tree.
trees,
Yes.
and that's
One of them was my
not-
kid, and I was
That's-
like, we're tying
this
these to
is
this
no-
red. And then she kept going back, and I was like, no balloon. No balloon.
Well, kids love, and that's why we do it, right? Kids love balloons.
They're also
and
dangerous,
They're
though.
very dangerous, and they're very bad for what we're speaking about.
Right.
Well,
Well, that's why
they're
I-
bad for
that's-
wildlife, they're bad for littering,
Was
but
that
they
I
can also kill
complained to Sam
children.
They can
every
kill-
time I saw you? I was like,
So that would be something, and I know we did it with some of my prior groups when we did festival planning. Like we had some restrictions,
Guidelines,
you
yeah.
can and cannot, and I have not requested that, but I would say going forward, we would want to be mindful of that we are true all the way through the event. So, which if we could get canned water, I would get rid of plastic bottles in a heartbeat. Or if we could do a refill and bring your own vessel. if we could make our giveaways a reusable vessel and get away from plastic bottles altogether. So those things are like some of my personal desires going forward. And again, it's not fault of anyone. We all do it. But how can we be a little smarter?
So in regards to food in general, so I did an embarrassing amount of research ahead of my wedding because I am very lazy and was not going to have dishes that needed to be washed, but I also wasn't going to have styrofoam, right? There is a whole bunch of biodegradable cutlery and cups and plates and things. A lot of them source palm leaves, which is really,
Also
really bad.
unsustainable.
It is a huge
Prohibited
separate
by
issue.
Yeah.
forest certification.
Biodegradable plastic is really bad. It turns into microplastic.
Right.
Imagine
Yeah.
that.
Well, even the compostables, we don't have the right environment for that.
And
So.
Yeah.
the vast majority of biodegradable has to have a commercial facility.
Mhm.
There are a couple of companies that are making, and they're not abhorrently expensive, but actually fairly sustainably sourced biodegradable plates and cutlery and napkins and cups and all that sort of stuff that we could shift towards, avoiding palm leaves and avoiding things that need commercial facilities that could help. Also, no glitter. But you can get biodegradable glitter that's like actually biodegradable, and it's called the Unicorn Association, and it's a parent and their transgender kid who created the organization because they love glitter but environment and it's
I
fantastic.
wonder
Anyways.
the Audubon Society's fixing to have a summit in like 2 or 3 weeks that I'm going to. It's going to be at Hendrix, and I have to figure out what they use because they use pretty good products, but I don't know like to what extent. And the lady who does it is also like a member of like CCL, like they work together. Like even down to like our name tags that we use, they're just pieces of cardboard that we write on and tie around our neck, and so
That sounds very Charmel Roussel.
yeah.
I've been to those.
Oh my goodness, I
It's
love it though.
fantastic.
So I wonder, like, even just looking into those types of things. Because we didn't even have like confetti or anything. Like so at our wedding, we got little shape stamps and just did tree leaves.
Yes.
Yeah, we just did
did that.
leaves. That was so fun.
Sam, where can we learn about all of the things that you were just talking about? Palm trees.
So it's
Because it's easy for the average Joe, and I'm talking about myself, to simply see a buzzword and go, oh, that must be good.
yeah, no,
Right,
absolutely.
yeah.
So like
Marketing.
I was only aware of the palm oil crisis due to in previous life I was an elephant handler, and it is wiping out Sumatran elephants specifically because Sumatra is being converted to palm oil plantations, and so I knew about that from that, but and overarchingly. Oftentimes, greenwashing is, a buzzword. You'll find tomatoes labeled gluten-free.
Never had gluten in them.
You can go to the Forest Stewardship Council website, and they'll give you lots of information.
Recommendations.
Oh, what is that website?
Forest Stewardship Council.
Okay. Can we produce something like that that could be accessible on our Facebook page that would just, and I don't know how that would steer into the specific mission that the tree board does, but to partner with an environmentally sustainable mission is couples with what we want to do. So that information would be something that would benefit everyone.
I think we frequently share information about sustainability issues.
Typically,
even from other organizations.
You're not going to have to worry a whole lot about international issues here because almost every forest products company that does business in this country has to avoid all of that stuff so that they can remain certified.
Okay.
So a lot of the stuff you probably won't. You might if you got something that was produced in China or India, Pakistan, someplace that doesn't have social social laws and made it into the country, but even the US has treaties where they don't allow a lot of that stuff into the country legally. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm
Yeah.
cheap, and so I shop off Amazon often, and did so for what we're discussing for my wedding, and so knowing the breadth of origins for all the different products. And at the time, I had a position in which I had time available to me to Google a lot more. It was pretty time intensive to try to kind of tease out what was genuine and you know, oh, you're biodegradable, but you need a facility. Oh, you're biodegradable, but what you degrade into is not what I
It's
want.
not gonna
you
break
know,
it down
like,
properly,
yeah.
Well, and that was something that like I thought would be a good idea, even if like partnering with sanitation. So like my mom, like we kind of introduced her into like recycling, and so like her big thing is like it's recyclable, but is it recyclable in Conway? And it's not.
Program.
And so yes, and so that might be
Around town and it builds them up, and that could be the connection that we foster with the certification, and it also connects more people to the tree board and the other entities that have that focus, and then that just grows from there, and we can do a small group of people each year.
Do tours.
I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I know that the Sustainable Forestry Initiative now has an urban forestry certification. It's geared towards municipalities and that sort of thing. You know, when we work with the city on a tree plan, maybe we look into that and see what's required, because that'd be a great message for the city of Conway to put out that we are sustainably managing our urban forest. And I'm heavily involved on the forest industry side of that and working with private landowners even, but not on the urban forestry side. It's brand new. So it might be worth looking into when the city begins their tree management plan. So
I mean, maybe not even necessarily a certificate, because it holds a lot of weight and responsibility of like teaching and coaching, but potentially maybe even like a Conway like eco coalition of, you know, just kind of helping foster those connections and those relationships, and to be a member of that group, or you know, you would need to like
Complete 4 of 10
yeah
requirements or some such thing.
because when I hear certificate, I'm just like that's you know,
Certification.
Well, and then
yeah,
it would definitely have to, you would
Yeah, I think
definitely
we'd
have to
have to flesh it
outline
out.
what certificate was, as opposed to, my idea was simply the connections and recognizing that each business plays a part. As opposed to you having a skill that you're going to be able to reproduce on demand.
Well, and I thought more like the average community member could go and tour these places, and there may be like a steward of sustainability. Like I now have an understanding, and now I'm going to make a commitment to try to contribute.
Well,
to
and that was something that like I was really passionate about, like not to like the other table I helped with was CCL, not recruiting or anything like that, but like that's a very political standpoint, and like I came in at like a lifestyle, and so I think that's what we had a lot of people asking, like, well, we need to be holding, you know, different other things accountable for other things, but a lot of people were interested in like a lot of things they can do in their own lifestyle, and I think that would be a really like the eco coalition, or you know, doing certain things and learning about, because the greenwashing thing is a bit, you know, people are kind of thinking that they're doing great and they have the intent to do good things, but having the right knowledge and access to that knowledge, I think would be really, really good.
One of the young men that I had at my table volunteering did an internship with a business focused on the environmental aspects. And he had a hard time having conversations with management because of the difference between their language and business language, money
Yes.
versus money savings, and keep having those connect remains a disconnect. So hopefully those conversations with the businesses, if we could do something like that, just
Yeah, because
Use
unfortunately,
it all
like,
together.
it does cost more initially, but hopefully those things they last longer. These
Right.
changes people are going to be making, hopefully, they're going to be sustainable. That's the point. It's just got to be attractive enough for people to make those changes.
Has to be doable in a budget.
A lot of
Yes.
UCA environmental science courses would often have members of our business college come and do seminars discussing the economic side of environmental practices and essentially helping facilitate those conversations and give examples of when they've successfully argued for environmental initiatives from a business and economic standpoint, and just kind of teaching that other language and that different perspective that we often don't have because we just kind of skip over the why do we care and we care. And so
Yes, yeah.
it was really, really nice. It is after 5:30.
Yes.
And
there
this room is
any-
very
Isn't that
hot.
thermostat says
It
81
is.
degrees?
It is.
No, I'm dying.
Yeah, that way.
Quite warm.
Yes. I'm like, why am I wilting?
Because I am hungry and it is hot.
Alrighty, so
Did we do minutes?
we voted in minutes earlier. Yes, sorry, that was before you got here. Briefly discussed financials. We do have outstanding, but just FYI, we have about $200 and something left at the end of the year that will roll over to next year, as close as we could get us. Got nervous. But so it's a little bit of money. And then, so that's it. So January 8th, 2024, we will meet back in this building, coming fresh with ideas and how you want to contribute on the board. Any bylaw, because they're reworking some of the bylaws, so hopefully we'll have at least a portion or a section of that Ryan thinks he might have available to us at that point, possibly. Hopefully we'll have budget answers by that point as well. And then if you'll just let me know what Crystal needs for, I guess it's too soon, but for next year's sponsorship, what we
Is it
need,
ever
we
too
can start
soon?
looking. Can we get our money back? No.
We look at it every year, so.
Well, and whatever they require of us too, and hopefully they think we're being good stewards of the money.
Yeah.
We're getting trees and spreading the word and trying to do all of that. So, all right, unless
Motion
anyone
to
has anything else,
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Sam, you motioned.